Why are there Liahonas on my wallpaper? That was my first thought when I moved into this 100-year-old New England home. After a little research, I learned that this right here is an astronomical navigational tool. There are several similar looking variations such as armillary spheres, C-rings, and equatorial ring dials. Notice the curious workmanship of these brass balls, covered in mathematical markings, astronomical indicators, and zodiac signs. Some of these devices were types of sundials used for tracking time and dates, while others employed more sophisticated mathematical alignments used for navigation. These astronomical devices all originated from ancient astrolabes, and I wasn't the first one to notice the similarities to the Liahona. Back in 2018, some LDS historians made the connection between the Liahona and ancient spherical astrolabes. Some have taken this as evidence of the Liahona's existence and the historicity of the Book of Mormon, but I'm going to expose how this is yet another anachronistic myth. The Liahona first shows up in the Book of Mormon in 600 BC as Lehi leads his family through Israel's wilderness. The spherical astrolabe, suggested to be the Liahona, was in fact of Islamic origin, but it wasn't invented until 1400 AD. Now, the predecessors to these spherical astrolabes was the two-dimensional planispheric astrolabe and the armillary sphere, first developed by Greek astronomers around 200 BC. That's still centuries after Lehi and in the wrong country and culture. Additionally, these early astrolabes were never used for navigation, only tracking time and astronomical movement. Another problem with the Liahona is that the Book of Mormon says that its interpretation meant compass. However, the definition of astrolabe is interpreted star tracker. Those are two distinctly different things. The Liahona is described as having two spindles, one of which pointed in the direction they should go. The issue here is that the spindles on navigational astrolabes did not function as pointers. Rather, they worked by lining up shadows from tiny holes drilled into each end to find the height of the sun to determine mariners' latitude, which was then used to calculate the precise angle in which direction they should go. So the Book of Mormon describes the Liahona as having the characteristics of a spherical astrolabe, but the function of a compass. But the magnetic compass with rotating directional spindles was not invented until 400 BC in China. These magnetic compasses were not used for navigation until 1100 AD. The only similarity with early compasses I found was that when the magnetic pole was first discovered, they were used as divination devices to offer spiritual guidance to curious inquirers. Likewise, the Liahona was said to provide esoteric spiritual guidance to the Nephites, according to the faith and diligence which they gave to it. Although these instruments would not have been familiar to someone in 600 BC Israel, many of them would have been familiar to someone in 19th century America. Equatorial ring dials, mariners' compasses, and C-rings were used for mariner navigation through the 18th century until they were replaced by the sextant. Armillary spheres and celestial globes were less common, but still depicted in art and sometimes displayed in libraries or university astronomy programs and literature. So considering Joseph Smith's bright mind, love of learning, use of esoteric divination tools, and vivid imagination, it's not hard to fathom how he took bits and pieces of various known navigational devices to create his very own Liahona. Stick around for part 2. Also, a huge shout out to bcmnemonics.com for helping me in my research of all these different astronomical devices. You can go to their website to find out more about all the ones that I mentioned here.